Hello dear students, my name is Gaurav Bansal, your teacher for Indian economy at GS Core. We are continuing our series where we have been explaining the syllabus to you, and so far we have done 4 parts in it. Today we will have the 5th session. In the 5th session we are going to discuss about the agriculture in India. In the last session we covered up to the banking, finance, etc. So if you look at the agriculture section, particularly in Indian economy, then the syllabus is quite well defined actually. Here we do not have to decode the syllabus that much. I will explain the syllabus, yes, but unlike the previous sections where nothing was written or where much was not written, we really had to interpret a lot from previous year question. Here we do not have to do that. Here questions stick to the specific syllabus. Syllabus is clearly defined. So that makes the life relatively easy for agriculture. Let us start. So this is what I was telling you. This is our session number 5th here. Okay. Yes. So we have covered up to these 4 basic concepts: economic planning and reforms, budget and public finance, banking, finance, monetary policy. If you want to see these, there are videos available in the playlist. Let us start with the agriculture. So if we do a broader division of agriculture, we can divide it into following 7-8 topics. The first thing that we need to study in agriculture is agriculture resources and technology in India. That what resources India has, what technology do we have, that you should have a fair idea. You do not have to study necessarily in economics. This you may learn a bit in science and technology, environment, geography also. But you need to have that knowledge. Okay, what is resource base of India, in which area, which type of crops for example we have. So this maps to that area of syllabus also, cropping pattern. Okay, and then apart from that also what other resources are there. So you need to be aware of that. Then once you know the technology and resources, you will be moving to the production. So how do we produce the crops in India? How do we produce food in India? And what is the pattern, what exactly we grow, what we do not grow, where we have shortages, where we have exportable surplus, okay? And what are the issues in production itself? Do we have good quality seeds? Do we have such issues or not? Okay? Do we have, let's say, too much of fragmentation of land? All those are production related issues. So production in itself is a very big theme, and all production related issues comes under this. So for example, your topic of green revolution is also under the production itself. Then we come into agriculture post-production, which is hardcore economics. In the post-production, you get into once farmer has produced the crop, how are they going to package it, how they are going to transport it to the market, how they are going to sell it in the market, at what price. In this, the mandi system or the APMC will also come into picture, then the Food Corporation of India, then the MSP concept, all of that comes into the post-production. Within the post-production, we have separated agriculture pricing as an important issue. So although it is part of the post-production, but let us treat it as a separate topic because a lot of questions have been there on it, and maybe we can treat it separately because it has certain specific themes. Then apart from these, we have specific farmers issues. Okay, what are the farmers problem? In different regions, what kind of problems different types of farmer face? In certain areas, salinity is the problem, increasing salinization or alkalization of soil, let's say. In certain areas, the problem can be lack of water. In certain areas, the problem can be, let's say, desertification. So different areas, farmers have different problems. Okay, apart from that also farmers have other issues. So that also we need to look into. Then agriculture subsidy, food processing and land reforms. So these are the broader subtopics within the topic of agriculture. Now if you look at the UPSC provided syllabus, that's what we have, where we start with the major crops and the cropping pattern. Okay, and then the irrigation system. So far we are talking about production systems. Until now, this is production. Then storage, transport, market and related constraint, e-technology in aid of farmer. This is somewhat post-production. Okay. And then these are other agriculture policies where we are talking about the MSP, where we are talking about the PDS. Okay. So likewise, You can go through this UPSC syllabus, and this is quite well written. Frankly, this is one area of syllabus in economy which is quite well defined and where questions stick to the syllabus. Now let us go into a thorough analysis of what all we need to study here. So starting it, first of all, we need to study the role of agriculture in Indian economy. This is where we need to start. Basically the resource, everything will come here. So the land resources, land use pattern, and the land capability classification. So in which area, what kind of land we have. So this is more of your geographical background in economics here, somewhat. Okay, this particular topic. And causes and impact of land degradation. This is also sustainable land management. These are certain topics which are overlapping with geography and environment also. So perhaps a lot of information you get from those sections as well. But this land resource as such, this is a general topic which you have to study. Then once you know the role of agriculture in Indian economy, then you come into the land reforms. Okay, once you know, and apart from that you also, I mean in general, have to study the sectoral contribution, okay, output, jobs, okay, exports. These are also what we need to look at. General profile of agriculture also should be covered here. So this is what we need to cover. Just give me a second. Yeah. So then the topic is land reforms. In the land reforms, we need to study objectives of the land reforms, that why we need to bring land reforms. Then the traditional land reforms and land reforms in 21st century, okay, the progress of the land reforms, and the latest Niti Aayog report on land leasing, that also should be studied in this context. Next is crop insurance. Okay, crop insurance affects both production and post-production issues. It's more of a factual topic and more related to government schemes. So this also you have to study. Issues related to crop insurance, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, and comparison with the earlier crop insurance schemes. So this is not such a conceptual topic, but more of a scheme oriented topic. But this is also what you need to study along with the production. Then we come into agriculture finance. Agriculture finance is also an important topic. So there we need to understand why farmers are dependent on finance. Farmers often do not get their payment on time. By the time they are selling their new crop and the payment will arrive for that, they already have to spend money in order to sow the crop for the next agriculture season. So that's why they are many times dependent on the external financing. Then we look into what is the source of agriculture finance. So there we have a three-tier structure. And in the three-tier structure, we have commercial banks, we have RRB, and we have cooperative banking and the NABARD. NABARD and cooperative basically same. Cooperative banking under NABARD. Okay, and then Kisan Credit Card, which is also delivered by commercial banks. So Agriculture Credit Institute is basically this. Sources of agriculture finance. This also we need to study. From where money is coming into agriculture, how it is supporting farmer, what is the impact on agriculture output. If we want to register higher growth in agriculture, what we need to do. So all these aspects should be taken care of. Okay, measures taken to improve credit flow to agriculture. So every year in budget, government is announcing new schemes to extend more and more credit to the farmers. For example, increasing the limits of Kisan Credit Card was a decision taken recently. Before that, number of other subsidies that are given to farmers have been announced. Then we have a topic of agricultural revolutions in India. This is related to production. So far largely we are in production only. Okay, we have not left the production aspect. Financing is also a production aspect. The agriculture revolution is also related to production. The land reforms, insurance is also mostly about production. So far we are looking at the production aspects in agriculture. So within this we have agricultural revolution, where you have to study green revolution in complete detail. What is the need? What was the need for green revolution? How did it contribute? How it increased the production of wheat and rice? And now in the 21st century, what is the problem if we are continuing with the 40-50-year-old strategy? So we should have changed our approach, and that's why green revolution, the same approach which benefited us 50-60 years ago, is harming us today. Okay. Then white revolution, Operation Flood, and many other revolutions are there, including golden, blue, and other aspects. So these also we have to study factually. This topic is not so conceptual except the green revolution. Next, now we come into the post-production aspects. This is where we start with the agriculture marketing. So when you start with the agriculture marketing, you have to study the structure of the agriculture marketing in India. Okay? That if in India a farmer wants to sell his crop, what is the system for that? अगर मुझे अपनी फसल बेचनी है कैसे बेचूंगा? Okay, if I have to sell my crop, how I'm going to do that? So that will ultimately come to the APMC Act or the Mandi system or the APMC market yards. So this is what will come there, because majority of agriculture marketing in India is dominated by this. So then you have to also understand the importance of the proper agriculture marketing. That what is the role of marketing, how marketing support agriculture. This also needs to be studied here. Then government measures to improve agricultural marketing in India. What steps government has taken to improve the agriculture market? So there you have to study APMC reforms. So basically the topics that we have written here, analysis of APMC Act, ENAM, then reforms in FCI. There are a number of such subtopics here. Then it is also related to a topic of PDS, public distribution system, although it will come later as well. So these are certain aspects related to agriculture marketing. Okay. So market is about how farmer is going to sell the crop. Okay. How it will reach the consumer. Pricing is also an aspect of agriculture markets. There we have MSP, viability gap funding. Apart from MSP, how government can support farmers. Then what are the other ways to improve the agriculture prices? For example, crop certifications, etc. Then we have agriculture schemes. So schemes have divided in 4 categories. Productivity related schemes. So schemes which are more technical in nature, schemes which aim to improve productivity of the farm. Then there are certain schemes which are aimed at price support. Their objective is not to grow per acre output. Their objective is to improve the price that farmer is earning per quintal. Then we have direct support, where government directly give farmer certain benefit. It is not related to selling crop. It is otherwise considering or treating farmer as a vulnerable group and a direct support from government for farmers. Then there is something called input support. Okay, it might not be visible here because of this podium. Last point that is written here is input support. So input support means fertilizer support, seed support. It will come into the productivity related schemes itself, but it can also be related to price. So you can relate it to both actually. Basically input means all the raw material, technology, input that farmer uses for farming. If government is supporting farmer into it through certain schemes, they will come here. Okay. So we can divide the schemes into these 4 categories. Then we have subsidies. In the subsidies we have farm related subsidies, fertilizer subsidies, power subsidy, irrigation subsidies. Okay. So there are a lot of subsidies that government provide to the farmers. Then we have PDS system, public distribution system. So another very important subsidy is food subsidy, which is actually not provided to farmer but provided to consumer, and it is also related to agriculture. So food subsidy, basically the PDS system. So earlier we had universal PDS system and we have moved to targeted PDS system. Okay, everyone could get the ration from a ration shop. Now it is targeted, and almost 85% of India's population at present is covered under it. Then we have one nation, one ration card. These are the reforms in the PDS system. Then we have buffer stock policy also under PDS system, and food security bill. So these are also topics that you have to study here ideally. Then we have latest reforms in the agriculture. So there you have to look into irrigation related reforms. Okay, for example, per drop more crop. This is a scheme by government which is related to irrigation reforms. Okay, similarly we have many such themes. Then we have fertilizer reforms, then productivity reforms, biotechnology, and advanced seeds, integrated farming, zero budget natural farming, etc. So these are all different reforms in agriculture. For example, in irrigation reforms, you can also treat drip irrigation as an important topic. Okay, so these are the topics in agriculture reforms. And then we have certain other miscellaneous issues that are there in agriculture. So for example, doubling the farmer's income and agriculture diversification. For example, we are trying to shift away from purely wheat and rice based farming to a broader farming where we are growing more and more types of crops. Okay, so agriculture diversification, basically moving away from the green revolution pattern. And then there is an important topic of contract farming as well. And then there is an important Dalwai committee on doubling the farmer income. So that also must be studied. And then we come to the last part, which is an associated sector called food processing. So in the food processing, you have to study, for example, what is the structure of food processing in India. Okay, in which areas of India, what type of processing is done, and what is the overall distribution of food processing in India. So there are certain areas where food processing is well developed, certain areas we do not have much of food processing. Then impact of food processing on agriculture, for example, better income from farmers, reduction in wastage, investment in storage, investment in transportation, all those impact are there due to food processing. Okay, then there is infrastructure development in food processing, FDI policy in food processing and exports, and other government schemes. So those all must also be studied. So this is what you need to study in agriculture. I have given you a broader picture, and then you can start picking it up one by one, and if you follow this approach, you will not face any difficulty in answering any of the question that has been asked in UPSC exam. Now let us look at the questions as well. So if we look at some sample questions from the previous years, we can find, for example, there was a question in 2022, what is an integrated farming system and how it is helpful for small and marginal farmers in India. So integrated farming is a concept of sustainable farming where we avoid the wastage and we adopt multi approach to agriculture, where we have multiple cultures and wastage from one is used as a raw material for the other system. So you will study about it when you study the agricultural reforms. Then what is water use efficiency? So this is related to irrigation reforms, for example, and the role of micro irrigation. Then explain the changes in cropping pattern in India. So this is also related to the agriculture diversification. So if you look at any of the question here, you can identify the source of that question in the syllabus that we have explained to you. Okay. Then what are the reformative steps taken by government to make food grain distribution more effective? So this is about PDS, and particularly one nation, one ration card and other reforms in the last 10 years. This also we discussed earlier. Then what are the major factors responsible for making wheat rice system a success? This question is about green revolution and also diversification. Okay, how this has become a problem today. So the negative aspects of green revolution is in the second part. So this is what I was talking about, that green revolution has some benefits, certain issues. Then land reforms, this is a direct question because land reforms is a straightforward factual topic. And then challenges, opportunities of food processing sector in the country, and how can income of farmers. So this is what I was telling you, impact of food processing. This improves farmer income. This also improves the infrastructure in India in the transportation and storage. These are the major impacts of food processing. So this is a straightforward question. In fact, if you look at the nature of questions here, majority of them are quite straightforward. If you follow the approach that we have explained, nothing will be a surprise and you can easily score good marks here. But you have to follow a certain approach. You first need to interpret the syllabus in a certain way. Then the next question is elaborate the scope and significance of food processing. Also quite straightforward question. This is about the very first thing I was talking about, the food processing, the contribution, then the structure. Both needs to be discussed. And if you look at the other questions also from agriculture, relatively straightforward. There have been a handful of technical questions on the agriculture subsidies, but other than that, I have not seen many very technical questions, and this is an area where you can score well and where surprises at least will not be there. आप ये नहीं कह पाओगे कि अरे सर ये तो unexpected आ गया, this is something unexpected. That doesn't really happen a lot in this section. So, and this is also one of the most rewarding section in terms of syllabus coverage and in terms of marks, because from this very small area of syllabus, about 45 to 50 marks you can get. Okay, this accounts for that many marks. At least 4 questions are coming almost every year. So 50 marks you are being asked about from this area. So in the next session, we'll be continuing this discussion and we'll be discussing the other sectors of the Indian economy. And I hope this session is helping you and improving your understanding. Thank you.